Hello you, and welcome to the last Daily Rundown of the week with me, Dan Morfitt. Thank you for watching Channel 7. The Daily Rundown is the show where we look at all of the day's big stories. Tonight we'll be discussing the online social divide, tech funding and the scourge of sunlight. But first, let's welcome tonight's guests, who will supply the Daily Rundown with insight and opinion. It's the feral but easily calmed comedy hobbit himself, Stephen Armstrong.
Yes, easily calmed but equally easily angered.
Like a little honey badger.
Yeah, the honey badger don't care.
Oh, the honey badgers are hard.
They are. They're a hard but furry nemesis.
They're always fair though, aren't they? Honey badgers are always fair.
Harsh but fair, I find them, yes.
And welcome back to top journalist, writer and Andre Gray's boots boy. It's Andrew Greaves.
Welcome, top journalist, that's all right.
Top journalist. Well, you're the top of journalists because you train other journalists.
Oh, yeah.
So you have to be a top journalist.
Oh, I never thought of it like that.
Yeah.
It must be worth a pay rise, that.
You're also Andre Gray's boot boy.
I am Andre, yeah. I mean, he's kind of body double and standing.
Yeah.
So if we struggle,
I can see the
definite resemblance. It's the physique, I think.
And you're both worth £9 million.
We're both worth £9 million quid, yeah.
If you want to get involved in the show, we're as interactive as you can get. Join in the conversation on Twitter at The Daily Rundown, or at the very least, give us a follow because we like people following us. We might even follow you back if you're interesting. Right, let's look at our first story now. Immigration officials have arrested dozens of workers at the burger chain Byron. The Home Office revealed today that 35 workers from across London were arrested on immigration offences. Now, the government had Byron Burger's full cooperation and the chain had carried out all the necessary immigration checks but were presented with false documents. Allegedly, staff were called into a health and safety meeting but instead were met by immigration officers. Now, Byron will not face any penalties for employing people who did not have the right to work in the UK. The question is, was Byron right to do this?
It's a difficult one, really. I guess it's whether they're right to kind of try and get them into a meeting
under false pretences.
It's like one of the worst beadle abouts, isn't it? Really, it's kind of you're met with immigration officers. But I mean, if they've broken the law, I mean, I want to know how kosher these fake documents looked. I mean, I used to do fake passports for going out in Burnley when I was 16, and you know, I think the bouncers
really fake passports.
Fake passports, yeah. Just photocopies, like.
I believe Greater Manchester Police might be wanting to have a word with you afterwards.
It's like, I've got a parking ticket today back home, so that was just top my night right off. But it's kind of, they were given false documents. You know, we were passing off photocopies, as everybody was in Burnley, and the bouncers were clearly turning a blind eye for business. But immigration is a lot different, isn't it?
It's a little bit more serious.
It's a bit more serious, isn't it?
Well, I mean, it is. I mean, I was never as as adjacent to a Xerox machine as to do that, but we always used to do the sort of the pretending your birthdays and stuff like that, and then the bouncer would always sort of crush you with the main question, which is, all right then, what star sign are you? some idiot would always think, I've got it, lads, step forward and go, don't worry, lads, yeah, I'm a Solero. But you're thinking, I mean, my thoughts are, the Byron Burgers, were they aware that these people were illegal? In which case, why didn't they just fire them? You know, I mean, if they were aware that these people were working illegally, as a lefty, I would kind of say, well, maybe you tell them first. Yeah. You know, you give them the opportunity. You give them the
opportunity to tell the truth to you, and then either help them with official paperwork, or get them time to get it together. Really.
Well, yeah, you would assist them, and there was notes in here from sort of quotes from people saying, well, some of these people have been here 4 or 5 years and they didn't even get a chance to say goodbye. So it seems like this has been a very kind of sort of a sweeping kind of operation. And I do agree that Byron, they have an obligation. These people have broken the law, so yeah. But my feeling would be that if they've given good service and employment, I mean, I know I'm suggesting that they don't do something above board, but I would say that there's a certain amount of. I think employment is like a bank account. For me, every job you get in is a bank account. You put money in by turning up on time and being legally in the country, and you take stuff out by have time off or doing stuff like that. I just think that Byron have done a correct thing, but it's whether they've gone about it
in the right way.
Yeah.
Do you think it's a bit of an underhand PR thing then, that working with the Home Office, they've pinpointed 35 illegal immigrants that they had false papers for, and then to sort of almost go hand in hand so much? The fact that we're even talking about these stories because Byron have put it out there and the Home Office have put it out there about the cooperation between them.
You wonder how long it was from the operation starting and the actual the meeting and the arrests under the immigration laws that taking place, because you can't just suddenly go, right, we're going to come in and you get all those 35 people from the various branches into one place. That's probably...
I think they went into different branches at the same time. And
right, so but even so, it could still be... Byron might have known about this for 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
But these people still working for those 2 or 3 weeks, knowing that ultimately in 3 weeks on Tuesday...
Well, they're still working towards what they thought was their job.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
so was a chef or whoever it might be still turning up for the 2 to 3 week period when immigration and Byron were basically getting their stuff together to then arrest this person.
Does this whole endeavour peel back that veneer of who is really serving us, who is really working in these restaurants? And if it is illegal immigrants, or if it's people on low pay, or people who have come from far away and they're serving us every day as we have our burgers at lunch, it sort of removes a bit of the lustre, a bit of the magic.
I mean, it does. I don't mean to sort of compare it to this, but we were recently in one of our beautiful cities in the UK, and we were sat outside, myself and my partner, and my partner saw a gentleman smoking and then going back into a restaurant. Now, I can guarantee that if I had told my partner that in that kitchen there was a gentleman or a lady who was here illegally and there was somebody who'd just been out for a fag break, she would have taken food off the illegal every day and twice a Sunday, because her main thing is she doesn't want smoking around food. I think that for me, again, I'm not really that bothered. Maybe because I have freedom of movement and all global society and global nations, I wouldn't consider it to be that much of a problem. The thought as we're speaking occurs to me that I've worked in HR before. It surprises me greatly that Byron are not facing any ramifications for this. Maybe there's been we don't know, but maybe that's been a trade-off. They've sort of said, well, we will help you, we will assist you, and we will hold our hands up, and sort of as if to say, well, we had nothing to do with this. These are still HR professionals who have accepted and done right to work in the UK searches that have been false. These counterfeit documents, everybody who works in an area like this should be trained to recognise false and counterfeit documents. If if it's money laundering or other criminal activities, if you don't alert people until somebody alerts you and goes, we're going to come in and we're going to do this, and you go, all right, okay, well, yeah, you don't get away with that. You still have to face the ramifications.
So Byron's not impossibly large, but maybe in this instance they should be looking at their own HR team rather than some of the workers on the shop floor and in the kitchens.
I mean, if you're talking about workers who've been here for 4 or 5 years, that's 4 or 5 years of solid graft, probably on not very much money. It's not like they're,
and they've paid their taxes.
Exactly, there's no drain on society. So I'm not suggesting illegal immigration should be allowed, but I agree with Stephen that in terms of the crime, these are people who've worked, and we must think they must be paying taxes. So there's a failing somewhere else that they're allowed into the tax system.
And they must have a national insurance number.
Wholesale failures across not just Byron's HR department. I fully agree with that.
Yeah.
If you're a solicitor and you don't report money laundering any suspicions, then there is legal ramifications. So I'm surprised as you that there's not any ramifications for Byron on this.
It does say a lot though about this invisible population that works in our shops, in our restaurants, that we just don't know about and to some extent don't care about.
Well, I think that's that's another thing is that we live in a society where we want great customer service, we want a good deal for our money, and maybe we are. Maybe some of us willfully, some of us subconsciously don't think about this. They don't like to think of that. I mean, I'm originally from the Lake District, so I'm very aware of when the Chinese cockle pickers were were murdered, basically, and they were left outside and died.
Left by the
gangmasters, and they were, you know, some of those, or most of those, probably were in this country on illegal papers or just not on papers at all. But they were feeding a desire for a food industry. They were feeding our desire at the end of the supply chain. And too often, I think people don't look at that, or personally, I just think, well, the food or whatever, or for me it's about it's about openness, fairness, and I think that as Andrew was saying, if you've worked in this country for 4 or 5 years, I'm guessing they're not Byron don't pay their staff in an envelope with money in it. It's going through their payroll.
It's going through official channels. It has to.
It's going to have national insurance numbers. So again, how have these people secured national insurance numbers? It seems to be that the only people who
4 or 5 years, people can settle down, have families in that time, and now they're being
that's it.
Deported against the will.
Deported, yeah. I mean,
well, these people the people who've been deported, they are suffering, but it doesn't seem to be that anywhere else in the chain of this breaking down that people have been made to answer.
At the bottom of the chain for everything, really.
Yeah.
This is probably just the tip of the iceberg, and one of these stories I think was supposed to be a good PR story for all concerned, but it's getting some traction of negativity as well with that, and I think we might be seeing more businesses possibly cutting deals with the Home Office in the future.
I think it does open up a bit of a dangerous precedent. If the Home Office have come out and said, oh, they're not going to face any ramifications because they did all the necessary checks but were given false documents, surely, like you said, the minimum is retraining for that HR department to spot badly photocopied and forged signatures and whatever.
Have the Home Office not got into trouble for employing cleaners?
We'll be hearing more about this story and more stories like it in the future. Right, time for a quick break now, but the three of us will be back in just a couple of minutes to talk about attacks on prison officers and Sunshine singeing ancient artefacts. It's really difficult to say. See you in 3, back on the Daily Rundown.